We now know how Russiagate got started, and we know that it was all a lie started by the Hillary Clinton campaign. That the Hillary Clinton campaign realized she was in trouble because of her email scandal, which had broken in 2015 in the wake of Benghazi. We found these emails of hers that were weird, and people were like, what server was that on, and so on. And it created a problem for her all the way up to Election Day 2016.
But I could see them and hear them in my ear, and they said, Tulsi Gabbard, you're coming out and criticizing Hillary Clinton and her foreign policy record. Aren't you afraid of what she'll do to you? He asked me this on live television on MSNBC. And you're laughing. I laughed too. I was like, no, I am not afraid of what Hillary Clinton can do to me.
When Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard team up to roast Hillary Clinton, it's like unleashing a tag team of sharp wit and unforgiving truth on a political heavyweight who thought she'd seen it all. From campaign missteps to decades of scandals, nothing is off limits. Under their scrutiny, Hillary's carefully polished image crumbles, exposing the contradictions, controversies, and failures that blocked her path to power. This isn't mere criticism. It's a full-on dismantling, delivered with cutting humor and unfiltered fire.
Of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
They are using the same old tactic that the deep state's propaganda arm in the media uses. Whenever they come across something that is true and that doesn't go along with whatever their narrative is that they're trying to shove down the throats of the American people, they first usually ignore it, as they did when I first released these documents.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Megyn Kelly's razor-edge commentary slices through the glossy surface of establishment politics, exposing Hillary's chronic failure to connect with everyday voters despite years in the spotlight. She strips away layers of scripted speeches and fake empathy, revealing a politician more obsessed with image than substance. Kelly turns every campaign rebrand into a punchline, mocking the hollow slogans and highlighting the missed opportunities behind them.
Stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this administration.
Tulsi Gabbard adds her insider perspective, dismantling Hillary's foreign policy record with surgical precision. From questionable Middle East decisions to cozy ties with elites, Tulsi lays bare a legacy riddled with contradictions and compromises. Her critique highlights how Hillary's policies often clash with the very ideals she claimed to uphold, painting the picture of a leader more invested in power than true progress.
That all of these pieces fit quite seamlessly together, creating a very clear timeline that shifted from before the election, the intelligence community almost uniformly saying essentially that Russia is trying to sow discord in the US election, but has no preference for one candidate over another. And then all of a sudden, Trump wins the election, surprising many people, both here and abroad, as we've learned in later documents that we've reviewed, that throughout that campaign, Russia believed that Hillary Clinton would win the election.
Together, Megyn Kelly and Tulsi Gabbard deliver a devastating takedown that shatters Hillary's political armor. They highlight the scandals, the gaffes, and her constant inability to inspire real trust. Their combined voices dismantle the myth of Hillary Clinton, revealing a career defined less by achievement and more by controversy and lost chances. It's a relentless roast with no room for spin or excuses, A candid reckoning of a once untouchable figure now thoroughly exposed.
Our audience knows this, and you guys, but just for the record, let's play SOT 10.
I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
We're trying to tell the American people the truth and expose these people, many of whom you just showed, for who they are as the propaganda arm of the deep state, which would have no power and no influence if they weren't able to feed their lies into a willing spokesperson through the propaganda media.
Hillary Clinton's career has always been a spectacle of contradictions, a roller coaster of high expectations and crushing disappointments. Megyn, Kelly, and Tulsi Gabbard don't just call out her mistakes. They spotlight the gap between her carefully crafted public persona and the messy reality behind the curtain. It's the story of a politician who mastered the art of staying in the spotlight, but never truly won the hearts of the people she claimed to represent.
What is so concerning about what Hillary Clinton is doing here is she is not only calling me a traitor, she is not only trying to smear my character, she's sending a warning out to every veteran, every single American, anyone who stands up against the warmongering foreign policies that really are her legacy, that have been so destructive and costly to my brothers and sisters in uniform.
So, what's truly concerning about Hillary's actions here? She isn't just calling me a traitor or attacking my character. She's sending a warning to every veteran, every American willing to challenge her legacy of endless wars. It's a signal meant to silence dissent against the destructive foreign policies that have cost so much, especially to my brothers and sisters in uniform.
And as she got closer to Election Day, she decided to concoct 2 lies about Donald Trump to distract from her email scandal. She got the Steele dossier through this Fusion GPS company that her campaign paid, and she got this group CrowdStrike, which was the one responsible for the hack into that. That's the one that said that the Russians hacked the DNC.
Megyn Kelly zeroes in on Hillary's communication style, polished but hollow, rehearsed yet lacking authenticity. She paints Hillary as a politician whose words felt scripted, as though read from a teleprompter built to please focus groups rather than inspire genuine connection. Kelly highlights how grand promises and lofty visions rang hollow to voters tired of political doublespeak. Hillary wasn't a leader igniting a movement. She was a politician clinging to relevance in a shifting landscape. Tulsi Gabbard adds her insider's perspective, dissecting Hillary's foreign policy record with the precision of a veteran who knows the stakes. From Libya's collapse to the chaos in Syria, Tulsi exposes the devastating consequences of Clinton's choices, revealing a pattern of interventionist policies at odds with the ideals of peace and diplomacy she claimed to uphold. Together, they argue this facade only deepened voter mistrust.
And I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that Democratic primary.
Kelly doesn't hold back when it comes to Hillary's attempts to control the media narrative. She exposes how the Clinton machine wielded influence over coverage, stifling criticism and punishing dissent. This wasn't transparency. It was damage control at all costs. Tulsi sharpens a critique, pointing out Hillary's blind spot toward a restless working class who struggles when ignored, paving the way for her opponents to exploit the void. They revisit the infamous email scandal, framing it not as a minor hiccup, but as a symbol of deeper flaws, ethical lapses, and poor judgment that defined her leadership style.
One of the pieces that Glenn and I were getting close to in the discussion was the Hillary piece of this. And the evidence, because that is, they do name a couple of names in this appendix on who came up with this scam. And the name that we keep seeing over and over, as one of them at least, was Julianne Smith. Schellenberger writes, Julianne. It's Julianne. He writes, the alleged creator of the plan was Julianne Smith, a Clinton policy advisor.
Kelly calls out the contradictions in Hillary's rise, celebrated for breaking glass ceilings, yet relying on tactics that often undermine the solidarity expected from a feminist icon. Tulsi highlights the missed chances to build real coalitions, replaced by cold calculations that alienated allies. Together, they dismantle the myth of inevitability around Hillary's career, showing how overconfidence, missteps, and underestimated opponents sank her campaigns. Their critique cuts through media spin to reveal a candidate unable to connect with a diverse, skeptical electorate. They also emphasize how Hillary's legacy remains polarizing. To some, she's a symbol of progress, but to many, she represents political disillusionment.
So in this latest House report, they talk about how they also in the House, this is the House in 2020, pointing out that the ICA of 2017 ignored evidence that Putin seemed to be protecting Hillary Clinton in a couple of ways. It did not mention, for example, that Putin chose not to leak info he appeared to have on Hillary Clinton's health, including that she suffered from psycho-emotional problems and was on daily tranquilizers. We don't know whether that's true. We know that Putin appeared to have that intel in his pocket and chose not.
Leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people.
Conclusion hits with force. Hillary Clinton wasn't undone by circumstance. She was the architect of her own downfall. Kelly and Tulsi argue that her legacy will be remembered less for breaking barriers and more for missed opportunities, lost trust, and a carefully crafted image that crumbled under scrutiny. This isn't just a roast. It's a reckoning, a reminder that in politics, authenticity and accountability matter more than scripted speeches and polished optics. Their critique cuts to the core of her persona, a woman who tried to be everything to everyone, and in the end became nothing to anyone.
So the Russians were able to hack Leonard, and that's where they saw the plan. And we now have in the Durham Annex, like full screen grabs of the Russian memos that the Dutch got their hands on and leaked to us, where the Russians are recounting exactly what they saw Leonard discussing about this Hillary Clinton fan and emissary, Julianne Smith, and how they were going to stop Trump, undermine Trump, but most importantly, distract from Hillary's email scandal.
Megyn Kelly exposes the calculated nature of Hillary Clinton's image, meticulously crafted to appeal broadly, yet resonating with almost no one. The polished speeches, the rehearsed empathy, the endless attempt to seem relatable, all rang hollow. Kelly's critique cuts to the heart. When authenticity is traded for optics, voters can feel it, and that disconnect is politically fatal. Tulsi Gabbard adds a sharper insider's critique, tearing into Hillary's foreign policy calculus. From military interventions to cozy ties with elites and destabilizing decisions abroad, Tulsi exposes the compromises that defined her career. Kelly underscores how Hillary's rise was fueled by calculated trade-offs, while Tulsi highlights the missed opportunities to take principled stands, choices that ultimately eroded public trust.
Woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own legitimate scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian.
Kelly then turns to Hillary's media strategy, exposing how her campaign's obsession with controlling the narrative often backfired. Attempt to silence dissent and manipulate coverage bred defensiveness instead of transparency. Tulsi emphasizes that in an era craving honesty, this approach only deepens skepticism. A central theme in the roast is Hillary's disconnect from working-class voters. Kelly points out how her messaging rarely addressed real economic struggles, leaving space for opponents to swoop in. Tulsi drives it further, stressing that ignoring these communities widened the gulf between Clinton and the people she claimed to champion. The infamous email scandal is revisited with brutal honesty. Kelly mocks the botched damage control efforts, while Tulsi calls a symbol of deeper flaws, poor judgment and ethical lapses that permanently damage her credibility. Their roast also dives into contradictions in Hillary's stance on women's rights, exposing how political expediency often clashed with her feminist branding.